So it's truly sickening how some of our teachers in the education system in Canada truly think. And it makes perfect sense why people who are under 18, who have not gotten out of high school, who have not left the university system, are completely fucking brainwashed and they don't know how to use their brains whatsoever. They have no critical thinking because they're taught such a black and white version of reality with virtually no nuance whatsoever. And a good example of this, if you haven't heard of it so far or already, is in BC. There was a test in 10th grade for the social studies test, and for like the political spectrum, and essentially it is framing everybody who is right wing as having racist views, and everybody who is left wing as being like, you know, really generous, nice, and peace loving and all this shit. But I'll go through the questions that were asked in this test, and it goes first of all, a person who believes that a convicted murderers should be hanged. And it said the teacher's answer was right. So her answer was a right wing. So, you know, hanged, like really, like you couldn't just say like capital punishment or like, you know, death sentence, you know, through injection, but they say hanged. Really, like they're trying to make it seem like conservatives are just like bloodthirsty monsters or something. And this is how these teachers think, because let's face it, there are no more conservatives in the educational system. And if they are, they're extremely quiet about it. And, you know, they're masochists because they like to be tortured and surrounded by crazy leftists all the time. But clearly there is a massive bias, and we need to do something about this, because this is unacceptable that kids are taught this, that, you know, right-wingers are essentially evil, left-wingers are good. But the second question is a person who believes the school strap should be abolished, and the teacher's answer was left. So, you know, that means that people on the right, they believe kids should get the strap. Nobody believes that anymore on the left or the right. Very few. Some people do. A lot of people on the left or the right still believe in capital punishment, or believe in, not capital punishment, I'm probably using that term wrong, but in, you know, beating kids and shit. Like, a lot of people still agree with that on the left or the right. And personally, me, I am against, you know, beating children, and I think that is something that we really need to stop doing. But, you know, a lot of people are just used to doing that, whether you're on the left or the right. So it's not a political thing, but obviously, you know, these teachers are going to fucking frame it like that because they want the young to immediately, once they get out of university, vote for the left, because the left supports unions that the teachers depend on because they're bad at their jobs. Like, most teachers are the lowest of the low. Like, you know, these are the bottom of the people in university and college that can't do anything else, so they go into teaching. I'm not saying that every teacher is bad and it doesn't teach kids and they're terrible people. There are a lot of great ones who work very hard and stuff, but the way it is now, it's like you don't need to be very fucking smart to be a teacher. I remember having so many retarded fucking teachers that we had to correct throughout school all the time. There's one teacher who like didn't prepare our class for the exam whatsoever. She taught us like something that was completely wrong, like a whole, like, so when we did the exam, everybody failed it, like even the really smart kids, because we were all just learning the wrong thing. It's just so stupid. They're full, the educational system right now is full of Marxists who are dependent on the state for their survival. But a person who believes, you know, blah, 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 the strap, a person who is racist, and the teacher's answer was right. So left-wingers can't be racist. It's only right-wingers, only, you know, white people that can be racist, because power plus privilege. But that's a load of shit. People, minorities and leftists can be racist. They're openly racist every fucking day because it is okay to be racist towards white people, as we see. Like, just read an article, read the news, read the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN. There was an article the other day with Paul Krugman talking about the Kavanaugh thing, saying like angry white caucus males or whatever, but you know, or white resentment, white anger, white this, white that. You know, that is fucking racist. Imagine if I said black resentment, black depression, black this, you know, this black anger that is going on within our schools. And this, it's like, you know, people right away to be like, what are you talking about? Like, are you some fucking racist? But it's totally okay. You can say, you can be as racist as you want towards white people. And, you know, they also want people to think that. They don't want kids to understand that you can be hateful towards the majority group within a country, because if they do, then they'll actually start to listen to them. They won't think of them as a monster, of somebody like a demon that they need to fight, that they need to use the state to overcome, because, you know, we need to be the bad guys, you know, in the leftist image. You know, it's white men specifically need to be the bad guys because they are the ones right now with, yes, more power. That's because we're the majority, but more money and wealth. So you need to demonize these people in order to get the other people to vote for their party, to then transfer that wealth to them because it was stolen, yada, yada, yada. And a person who believes in higher minimum wage, left. Okay, yeah, sure. The lefties, they do believe that because they're stupid, okay? They're idiots, they don't understand, and they don't care about small businesses, right? The people who promote this stuff on top, they understand that this is only going to be helping big businesses who can afford to pay their workers more money. So all it's going to do is destroy the bottom 20% of people who have businesses that employ 20 people or less. So if there are many small businesses in Canada that only employ 10 people, so use your fucking brain, use your logic. If you're forcing these small businesses to now go from $11 an hour to $15 an hour in 2 year span, a lot of them are not going to be able to do it. And they're going to have to cut back on staff. They're going to have to cut back on the benefits that they're giving to those staff. So it's going to slow down their growth, and it's going to speed up the growth of the corporations. And then we wonder why there are monopolies, because we keep giving them powers to become monopolies, because we keep making it harder for small businesses to grow. So, you know, it's no wonder why, you know, we keep getting these monopolies that later on people are like, okay, now we need to use the state to come in and break them up and do all this stuff. It's like, yeah, well, we could have just avoided this from the beginning. You know, just like Google and all these companies now that are out of control, people are saying for years, like, hey, this is getting out of control. Let's not have these governments keep making these companies into monopolies, but now that they are monopolies, people are like, oh, now we need the government to break them up and stuff. So it's like, if only people listened from the very beginning. And then a person who believes that the police should be able to wiretap telephones, right? So, you know, people on the right believe in a police state, where it's people on the left right now. And you know, in different times, sometimes it's people, conservatives, that want a police state. Right now, it is mostly the left. They want a police state to track down evil, racist, right-winger Nazis on the internet, to shut them down and put them in prison. You know, right now, that's why they want a police state. They want to take away all of your guns and only let the police have guns. So at this moment, it is liberals who want a police state, not the right. And then a person who believes that Canada should restrict immigration. Right. Yeah. People more on the right think we should restrict immigration. That's true. But they're kind of framing it like, oh, it's a bad thing. You know, they don't even have to frame it that way, because that's how it's been framed in Canada for so many years, that if you're against immigration, we just know that if you're against immigration, you're a bad person. So in this question, yeah, like a person who believes Canada should restrict immigration, right? Like, that's not a bad thing, though. It's not a bad thing. You know, a people of the country should have the right towards who comes into their country. immigration should benefit the people that the people in the country that they're coming into. And even if they are bringing in tons of wealth and all this stuff, but the people, they don't want those immigrants in because they don't want their demographics to shift, then that is also a good enough reason. You don't need any more reason than that to be against immigration. You don't have to concede and be like, oh, well, they're bringing in all this money, and without it, we're not going to be able to pay for all these old people and all this shit. It's like, no, I'm just against immigration because I don't want to be a minority in my own country. You know, that's the only reason I need. And there are people on the left that are against immigration or want it reduced, but this is just another thing, another way to make people think in black and white and non-nuanced terms, that if you're on the left, you have to be for immigration. On your right, you're against it. But in reality, there are plenty of people on the right that are fine with immigration. They just want it reduced, or they're actually fine with the way it is, and now they just want more a freer economy and stuff. They don't even care about the way the immigration is. They just want, you know, they don't want a carbon tax. They don't want this, and they don't want that. But and it goes on, a person who believes that the Canadian military should acquire more sophisticated weaponry, right? Okay, sure, whatever. Yeah, that's probably true. Wouldn't you want the military to acquire more sophisticated technology? Like, I don't want a massive military state either. I'm actually against a military, because the military-industrial complex is just a huge waste of money and creates problems that we don't need, right? People are always like, oh, we need the military industrial complex, but isn't that what created a lot of the mess that we're in right now with immigration? Look at Libya, look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan, look at the Middle East. That's all because of the military-industrial complex. And that's just created justification for those people to leave those countries and come into your country. So are they protecting you? No, they're actually opening the doors for invaders, but just in another way, right? So, you know, you could have saved all the billions and trillions of dollars that you wasted in the military-industrial complex and spent that money on your own country to increase the, I don't know, technology in your own country, increase, you know, everybody could be armed. Nobody would want to invade America anyways, right? Like, it would be stupid if everybody was illegally allowed to be armed, legally allowed to defend themselves, legally allowed to have a lot of different types of weapons. It would be foolish to enter America. It would be foolish. But with the military-industrial complex, it just makes us seem like we're being protected. But in reality, they're just creating problems over in different countries, making foreigners hate us more. You know, like, America does stuff. They kill a bunch of people they don't need to kill. And then all white people kind of get blamed for it. And Canadians and stuff. We all look very similar. And people are like, oh, Americans and, you know, killing everybody. And then they blame all the people in America when it's really just the military. So they just create division, hatred. They progress immigration, or they make it, you know, a worse problem than it already is. So, you know, I'm not for a massive military, but yes, you know, the Canadian military, or people on the right, are for more military typically. A person who believes that Canada should send aid to the third world countries. So that is the left. But, you know, that's also not, you know, see, there's no nuance, right? There are people on the right that want to send aid. Like, there are people on the left that want to send aid, and maybe on the left it's more, right? But is it true that people, conservatives, I'm pretty sure conservatives, and specifically conservative Christians, donate way more to charity than the left? So, you know, they're trying to make this seem like, oh, their left is more generous. But a lot of the times the left is more generous with other people's money. They're like, oh, let's give this government money to this country. Not my own money, though. You know, let's take it from these rich people and give it to these other people, right? It's never their own generosity. They're never usually giving from their own pocketbook to other people. They just want the government to steal from other people and give it, so then they can feel generous. But, you know, but yeah, yes, the left on average wants to give to more money to foreign aid because they're stupid. again, and they don't understand the ramifications of foreign aid and all the harms and ills that it does create. But there are leftists and liberals who do understand the problems with that too. So it's not every person on the left. But once again, this thing has no nuance. It's just right winger bad, left winger good. A person who believes that women should stay home and be mothers, right? So yeah, I guess people who are more conservative believe that more. And is that really a bad thing, that women should stay at home and be mothers? But in our society today, it's horrible. Oh my God, you're a terrible sexist monster. But you know what? Generally, women are going to be happier if they stay home, have kids, and do this. I'm not saying, oh, we should make women do this. And I think, and there are plenty of women who want to have careers who don't necessarily want to have kids and or whatnot, right? And I'm not against that, but you know, we are biological creatures. We have evolved a certain way for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years to like certain things, because the one prerogative of all species is to reproduce. So yes, women you know, generally are going to want to do the roles that help with the reproduction of the species, and women are better at being mothers because they're women and taking care of kids. So, and that is going to help your kids and the progression of your species in the future. So there are natural things or natural reasons as why women like being mothers, like taking care of children. And it's not a bad thing. It is a great thing. It is the most important job on the planet, right? Or maybe not the most important, but this is definitely up there. I'm not going to say it's one of the hardest, okay, because that is bullshit. I'm not saying it's easy, because that's not true. It's obviously not either, but is the most important, because, you know, the next generation of kids is the next generation of kids, the people who are going to be running the country, the people who are going to be doing everything, or are going to be taking care of you when you're older. So, you know, the next generation is so important. And what do we do now? We just put our kids in daycares and let strangers take care of them while we go work at a job to make just enough money to pay for that daycare and to maybe go on a trip extra every year. But it's like, you know, really got to think about it. It's like, do you want to be on your deathbed being like, hey, I'm so glad I got to work 10, 15 hours extra a week, or 30, 40 hours extra, or so I could buy this thing that I don't even remember? Or are you going to be happier that you were able to spend time with your kids when they were growing up in the first few years of their life, especially, which you don't want to miss? It's an amazing thing to see kids grow up, and people, you know, they fluff it off nowadays, but it's really an amazing thing. And, you know, it is not a bad thing, but the left has convinced us that it is a bad thing. But specifically, it's only directed towards mostly white women. And now there's a massive birth rate problem, and now we're like, well, we need to import people, we need to import immigrants because you guys aren't having enough kids. Well, it's because of, you know, propaganda like this, making it seem like it's a bad thing to stay home and be a mother, which it is not. Okay, it is a great thing, and women should not be shamed if they want to stay home and be mothers, and they should not be shamed if they want to go and work, right? They shouldn't be shamed for either one. And then the last question, a person who believes that all major industries should be owned by the state. Now, left. So, yeah, that is the left, they believe. But also a lot of conservatives believe that a lot of industries should be controlled by the state. Look at Andrew Scheer and supply management and the dairy cartel. They're for this shit too, right? Just a lot of the times different entities they want controlled by the state, and other entities they don't. And the left is more all-encompassing. They want everything controlled by the state. But yeah, you know, and this just shows their ignorance and their stupidity. And this is another example how teachers are stupid, because it's like, do you really think it's a good idea for the government to own everything? It's like they have this idea that government is benevolent, right? And oh, it's gonna take care of us and do all these good things for us, and you know, they got to make sure these evil capitalists don't take advantage of us and harm us with their pollution, and we need the state take control of them. But it's just, you know, they don't understand how things really work out in the end of the day. They don't understand a lot of these corporations want the government. A lot of these massive polluters want the government's help. Like, look at the carbon tax thing in Canada, for example. A lot of the major polluters are given breaks. They don't have to be subject to the same regulations that everybody else is. So, like, they're just benefiting from this. They're being created into a monopoly because of these government regulations and all these things that are supposed to, you know, prevent pollution. They're supposed to help people, but they don't. We got to understand that the government is full of humans, full of people that all want to benefit themselves above others. And people think, oh, it's the government, it's going to be an entity to make everything equal. Well, guess what? It's full of humans. It's full of people who want power, who want money, and they're going to use the power that you're giving them to get that money, to get that power. You know, exploitation is always going to exist in the world with or without the government. But I would rather live in a world with the consequences of freedom than the consequences of authoritarianism and slavery. I'd rather, you know, deal with the consequences that come out of having too much freedom than the other consequences that come out of having not enough freedom, because the alternative is not better. But, you know, this is just really sickening to see this type of stuff going on in our educational systems. And, you know, it's no wonder why kids think the way they do. And this is why we cannot lower the voting age, because people are coming out of school being taught this shit. And we gotta at least let them live in the real world for a few years to wake the fuck up before, you know, they go and make all these votes and vote for the left, because they haven't realized a lot of what they've been taught is bullshit, is lies by these goddamn union fucking teachers, which probably 70 to 80% of them should be fired because they provide a piss poor service. It's no wonder kids get out of school, high school, with the ability to do nothing, right? What are you good for after high school? Physical, manual labor, and they teach you to be, you know, just a cuck to the government, not to question anything. And then they're like, okay, now you got to go spend all this money to go to higher education, where we're going to make you into a radical feminist now, and that supports bigger and more government, right? And that thinks that all right-wingers are racist and evil. And the reason they do this is because the right-wing ideology, more libertarianism, is what is going to just get rid of their power, because it promotes small government, no bureaucracy or very little, all things that they depend on for their livelihood. You know, unions, government power, corporations, all these things that they depend on is going to be gone with a small government, libertarian principles, you know, a functioning family with a mother and a father that are together and not divorced. Like, these are the things that are going to make society stronger and is going to take power away from them. So this is why they constantly demonize libertarianism and these ideas and associate them with racism, with bigotry, with all these things, because they just want people to be scared of them, because it is the only thing that will take the power from them and give it back to the people, and they know this. But, you know, that's all I pretty much had to say. Be careful if you have kids. Ask them what they are learning in school. Tell them to show you. Tell them, let them know that if their teachers are saying anything like that, to let you know, to record it on their phones and show the people the evidence of this. We need more and more evidence, because this is just probably the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure this happens way more than than just this. And, you know, like, the teachers, they're acting ignorant about this, like, oh, we didn't know, it's not in our curriculum. But this girl who gave this test out, she didn't write this test out herself. She took it out from what was previously already written in the school policy, or, you know, the educational thing or whatnot, right? So she took it from that. She didn't write it herself. So other people have used this. And, you know, we wonder why BC is full of a bunch of leftist fucking idiots. And, you know, it wasn't like this when I was in school. When I was younger, I was not given something like this. But I am in Manitoba, and in Manitoba, it's not nearly as, you know, we have our problems, but it's less political here to some extent, you know, other than the Aboriginal issue. But a lot of things, you know, they're not as leftist to right, you know, it's more in the middle. But nonetheless, like, that's fucked up. Ask your kids what they're learning, because it is essential. You don't want your kids to come home being a crazy fucking feminist one day, or crazy far leftist environmentalist hating you because of what they were learned in school. So that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. See ya.